Now that Pokemon Go Fest 2024 has concluded, I have been receiving tons of comments with questions regarding the Necrozma fusions, so I wanted to make another video to answer all of your questions regarding this and clarify anything that you might be confused on to the best of my knowledge. Before we get started though, there were a few things from the last video that I wanted to clear up regarding Pokemon Go Fest Global. So first of all, on the official blog post, Niantic had only listed 8 Ultra Beast raid bosses for day 1 of Pokemon Go Fest Global under 5-star raids. Blacephalon and Stakataka were not included in this. That being said though, they were in fact spawning on day 1. The second thing that I want to go over is going to be the legacy movesets. Niantic did not mention anywhere on the blog post that you will be able to evolve certain Pokemon with legacy movesets. The only way that players found out was through testing on day 1. From that, they were able to figure out that these following Pokemon were able to get legacy movesets. Had this information been clearly displayed on the official blog post, I feel like more people could have taken advantage of these bonuses. So honestly, there were quite a few Pokemon that were pretty good to get these legacy movesets on, like for example Charizard, Garchomp, Swampert, Hydreigon even, like those are all really meta relevant Pokemon, and the fact that Niantic just basically kept this hidden was really lame. The next thing that I want to go over is going to be the party play research for the costume Pikachu encounters. These were not advertised on the official blog post, but it was arguably one of the best features during the event. The tasks were easy and simple to complete within a party, and I was actually able to get multiple shinies and even the Hundo Suncrown Pikachu from this. And then finally, the last thing that wasn't advertised was going to be the routes in terms of the new shiny Pokemon encounters. So these Pokemon that were available through routes, it turned out that it was actually all the new shinies that became available from the in-person Pokemon Go Fest. Emolga, Crabrawler, and Ducklet. Basically, at the end of the day, this essentially meant that you didn't really need to focus on special 7-kilometer eggs if you had the ticket. You could have just farmed routes and not used any incubators whatsoever. And I think it's very interesting that Niantic did not disclose any of this on the event page. To be honest, had all of this information been clearly presented, I think players could have taken much more advantage of this event, whether or not they bought the ticket. As always, I do my best to pull the facts from official sources, but Niantic does often omit information. So I do apologize that I wasn't able to give you guys insight on these things, but it's mainly just because I didn't even know until the event actually started. Now speaking of omitting information, let's also talk about the Fusion Energy raids from Duskmane and Dawnwing's raids on day 2 of Pokemon Go Fest. So these raids were RNG based on unknown factors. The normal speed bonus did not actually seem to apply here, whereas on typical Mega raids it normally does, right? But again, these are fusion Pokemon, they're a little bit different. You could pretty much get as low as 80 energy and as high as 170 energy according to some Reddit users. In total on day 2, I did about 50 raids with passes I had been saving up, and on average for me, it was between 90 to 120 energy. Now given that the cost to fuse Necrozma together with Solgaleo or Lunala was 1000 energy each, this meant that you would need to do at least 10 to 12 raids in order to collect enough energy to fuse one together. Now if you bought the ticket, you would also get 1000 energy from the special research as well, so essentially you would have just enough to actually get both of the evolutions because you would get the free Cosmog from the free special research, and then you would also get either Solgaleo or Lunala from the paid special research. I would imagine that most players were not able to collect enough energy to fuse together their Necrozma with Solgaleo or Lunala, not to mention if you actually decide to unfuse them, you're going to have to spend 1000 energy again to refuse them. In my opinion, the cost to refuse should either be free or significantly cheaper. Like if we compare the Mega Evolution system after the first Mega Evolution, the cost to do it again goes down by 80%. There is a possibility that we may get a rework on the system in the future, but it might be a few years. Now with that being said though, there are a lot more questions regarding the Necrozma fusions that I'm going to be going through, so let's jump straight into it. So I heard if you had the background in Solgaleo/Lunala and fused it with a Necrozma with a background, you would get a unique background that cycles through both, no? So yeah, so there's only one special background that I believe you can get from the Solgaleo and Lunala special backgrounds from the special paid research. And then if you had the Necrozma with the Wormhole special background, if you combine Necrozma together with both of those backgrounds, you'll actually get a combined background, but that only works for both of those backgrounds together. For example, if you fused, your Solgaleo with the special background and just a regular Necrozma, you wouldn't actually get a special combined background like that. Instead, it would actually just take Necrozma's background, which is normally Psychic, right? And that would just be it. So, I mean, I feel like Niantic could have really clarified this more, and that's why I'm actually making this video right now, because, like, there are so many things that I read online after the event where, like, honestly, if I had not had read it, I would have made a lot of mistakes. So hopefully you guys are watching this video early. I tried to work really hard to get this out, and I'm extremely tired from this past weekend, but I do understand how important some of this information is before you guys actually fuse together your Lunala or your Solgaleo with Necrozma. Is it possible to get a lucky Necrozma with a catch card? What would that look like on screen? So yes, that is actually possible. I did actually trade for a lucky Necrozma with one of my lucky friends, and so I do have a catch card Necrozma that's also lucky. It basically just filters through both backgrounds, so it'll have the lucky background for a little bit, then it'll switch to the Ultra Wormhole background, and then it pretty much just cycles through that non-stop. So it does look pretty cool, and like if you had a Solgaleo or Lunala that you fused together, you know, with a Necrozma that was also lucky. I'm pretty sure it would just be like a combination of that. So basically it would be the new special background, and then it would also cycle through the lucky background as well. Bro, I can't understand why people are calling Necrozma an Ultra Beast. It's a legendary Pokemon. It's mentioned in the legendary Pokemon list in Pokemon GO. So I can understand the confusion here, because for all like intensive purposes, Necrozma does seem like an Ultra Beast. It comes from an Ultra Wormhole. Like, most people would reasonably assume it's going to be an Ultra Beast. But you are right, it is technically a legendary Pokemon, which is why in Pokemon GO, if you actually search up Ultra Beast, it doesn't actually come up, but if you search up legendary Pokemon, it does come up. What happens when you unfuse? Does everything go back to normal? Do you need to spend 1000 energy again and a lot of candies? The answer is yes, and honestly, I really hope that Niantic reworks this system in the future. On Pokemon GO's website, it says that you're going to get a third different catch card for fusing a catch card Solgaleo/Lunala with Necrozma with the catch card. Did they actually word that right? I can see the 3 catch cards on them separately, but I haven't seen a double catch card fusion, so I don't know. So yeah, I'm going to put that on screen right now in terms of what it looks like. We kind of talked about this a little bit earlier on in this video, but the only combined catch card that you can get is if you actually fuse together a Necrozma with the Wormhole background and the special Solgaleo or the special Lunala background. To be honest, I haven't even decided if I wanted to do this. Like, I still have a lot of lucky traits to go through in terms of my Necrozma, so I have a lot with the background that I got. And I might fuse together my Lunala with this Necrozma, but I also really like the Lunala background. I think it looks super pretty, and it might not look as good once that fusion has been done. So when it comes down to it, yes, you can do that. Would I recommend it? That's a different story. I have a Shundo Necrozma. Should I fuse it or keep it? So first of all, Necrozma by itself isn't really good for anything. Like, in my full analysis video, I kind of talked about this, but basically, yeah, I would highly recommend deciding which one you want to fuse it with. How rare is Cosmog Extra Large Candy? I have a good Solgaleo that I want to build for Master League, but do I put my Rare Candy XLs in that? So yes. Solgaleo is probably one of the best Pokemon to actually dump your Rare Candy XL in, because it's the only way to essentially get it on Cosmog. Like, there's no other way, even from the raid battles this past weekend. I think there might have been like some quests that gave you some extra large candy for Cosmog, but for the most part, you know, getting candy on this, or sorry, getting extra large candy on this is pretty much impossible. So yeah, if you get Rare Candy XL and you have a really good Solgaleo, that is the only Pokemon. Like, don't do it for Lunala, but for Solgaleo, it is 100% worth it. Is a ticketed research for fusion energy timed, or can we complete it whenever? So yes, if you're talking about the special research, you can basically just complete this on your own timeline. I would be very careful though about actually getting this done, like, because page 5 actually requires you to fuse together a Solgaleo or Lunala with Necrozma, and if you're like me and you just kind of jumped the gun because you were focused on content, you didn't actually do this on the right timeline. Also, I was incredibly tired. I probably could have looked it up on Reddit and then just kind of seen it ahead of time, but that's on me, guys. It's been a long weekend. But essentially, I don't want you guys to be making the same mistake, right? Don't fuse together Necrozma with Solgaleo or Lunala until you get to page 5, because it is going to ask you to do this, and if you already spent your energy, there's no other way to get energy in game right now. So I think it's really important to mention that right now if you haven't already fused together one of these Pokemon, which I'm sure is the case for many of you guys since the weekend just passed. Buns, I have a stupid question, but I assume if you detach a Necrozma, it keeps its old IVs. The answer to this is going to be yes. Once you actually unfuse them together, the original IVs for both Necrozma as well as Lunala is going to stay the same. And in terms of which one like actually stays powered up, that's just going to be Necrozma, right? Because everything is based on Necrozma. The only thing that really gets taken from Lunala is just the form itself. Like, if you had powered up Lunala originally, for example, you know, that would still stay powered up, but it wouldn't actually affect the Necrozma, because everything is based on Necrozma. So I hope that makes sense. I just feel like I have to clarify this over and over again because people have been asking me the same question so many times. But yeah, to answer your question, if you do detach a Necrozma, it does keep its original IVs. Same thing with Lunala. If I have a lucky Solgaleo and I fuse it, will I get a lucky fused version? So the answer to this is going to be no. The Necrozma has to be the one that's lucky in order for you to actually get a lucky fused version. The only thing that gets taken from Solgaleo or Lunala is going to be the form itself. One more question from the same user. Would you suggest I fuse together a 14, 15, 13 or a 15, 14, 12? So if you had to pick between one of them, like, I would go with the 15, 14, 12, mainly because of the 15 attack IV stat. But to be honest, if you still have Necrozma available, I would highly recommend doing special trades and just kind of mirror trading them if you don't have any lucky friends around you. But if you do have lucky friends around you, take advantage of all those opportunities first before you actually fuse together these Pokemon. There is no time limit in terms of when you have to fuse together these Pokemon, and once again, like as I mentioned earlier, if you have the special research ticket, you don't want to fuse them together until you get to page 5. Given how expensive Necrozma is to actually fuse together with Solgaleo and Lunala, like, you really don't want to be fusing together a low IV version because you're going to regret it in the future if you end up getting a better one. So go through all of your options first and then fuse together your best one. If that still happens to be that 15, 14, 12, then by all means go for it. I wonder if you can trade a Dusk main or Dawnwing from an alt account to your main account if they are lucky friends with one another, since the Necrozma falls under the legendary category in Pokemon GO. So you are right on this to an extent, like you can trade Necrozma because it's a legendary Pokemon, but in terms of Duskmane and Dawnwings, like once they're fused together, you cannot trade that because the Solgaleo and Lunala is essentially grayed out in your Pokemon storage, which means that it is just kind of stuck there until there's no real way to actually just trade that version of Necrozma. So again, it's kind of complicated, and I don't know if this is going to change in the future in Pokemon GO, but I just know as of right now, like if you do decide to actually fuse together a Duskmane or Dawnwings, you cannot actually do anything about it. Like once it's fused, and then if you want to trade it, you totally can, but you're gonna have to unfuse them. Do we know if you can get more fusion energy by making a fused Necrozma your buddy with Mega Pokemon? So I really wish this was the case. Like, to be honest, I really do. When it comes down to it though, you can't, and you know, there's no other way to actually get fusion energy in game right now. The only way was from raid battles, so if you weren't able to actually get 1000 and you didn't actually buy the ticket, then you're kind of screwed. Like, you won't be able to get this until, I would assume, they're going to come back in raids, which might not be for like another year or so. When you fuse them together, do they get all their exclusive movesets, or will it depend like how Origin Form Palkia and Dialga were? So yeah, I kind of know what you're talking about in terms of Origin Form Palkia and Dialga. No, it's not going to work like those Pokemon specifically. Once you fuse them together, they're automatically going to learn their signature movesets, so it's not technically like a legacy moveset because that would mean you would have to use an Elite TM to get it right. Once you actually fuse them together, it automatically just takes that first move spot. So for example, if my Necrozma had like Shadow Claw and Dark Pulse, it would actually just replace Dark Pulse with Moongeist Beam. Now in terms of you actually having the secondary charge move available, I don't believe that one gets changed because it always is going to roll on that first charge move, not the second charge move. So for example, if you had like Future Sight plus Dark Pulse, it would just reroll Future Sight to Moongeist Beam for Dawnwings, and then for Duskmane, it would reroll it to Sunsteel Strike. To answer your question though, yes, they're going to get their exclusive movesets automatically once you actually fuse them together, and they'll also get removed if you decide to unfuse them. After fusing Necrozma with Dawnwings or Duskmane, can we level up that fusion? Like, I assume yes, and if I ever unfused, it's the Necrozma that would be leveled up, but just checking. So yeah, you basically got this completely right. You know, everything is based on Necrozma, so if you power it up before, it's gonna be, you know, whatever that CP is supposed to turn into. If you power it up while it's fused together, that's gonna be on Necrozma once you unfuse it, but everything on Solgaleo or Lunala is gonna be untouched. If you fuse together a lucky Necrozma with a non-lucky Solgaleo or Lunala and the max is CP, will they both have max CP when I unfuse them? If so, this might be a cheaper way to actually power them up if you have enough energy. So, man, I mean, this would be optimistic, wouldn't it? So unfortunately, no. Everything is based on Necrozma, so like Solgaleo and Lunala are pretty much untouched. Like, even if you had maxed out a Solgaleo or a Lunala before this and you just, you know, fuse it together with a Necrozma that was at level 20 from when you caught it, like that would just be a level 20 Dawnwings or Duskmane. Like I've mentioned many times in this video already, if you fuse together Necrozma with Solgaleo or Lunala, the only thing that gets taken from Solgaleo or Lunala is going to be its form. What do you think is a better IV Necrozma to fuse? 14, 12, 12, or 15, 12, 11, or 13, 14, 15? So in terms of your best IV one there, it kind of seems like that 93, 13, 14, 15 would be the best. Some might even argue that the 15, 12, 11 is going to be the best. To be honest though, I don't feel like any of them are really that great in terms of IV spreads. Like, if you still haven't done all of your trades for Necrozma, I would highly encourage you to go through and do those first. See if you can actually reroll a better one, possibly even get a lucky Necrozma. Out of over 50 raids, I only got 2 that were in the 90 percentile range, and everything else was like really bad IVs. So if it wasn't actually for lucky trading, I don't think I would have even gotten a good Necrozma to fuse together with my Lunala, and to be honest, when it comes down to Solgaleo, that is a work in progress right now. Can you make a video of what to do after Pokemon GO Fest? I got 3 shiny Necrozma in a row. That is insane, dude. Congrats on the shiny Necrozma. In terms of what you want to see after Pokemon GO Fest, let me know in the comment section down below. I'm not entirely sure what you're talking about. It could even be this video, right? This video that I'm making right now. But in terms of other content, I'm always open to ideas, and I love when you guys actually let me know like what you want to see on the channel, because it really just helped me as a creator kind of, you know, navigate in terms of the content that I want to produce. So for anybody watching this video right now, if there is anything particular you want me to cover, let me know in the comment section down below. Do you power up Necrozma then fusion, or do you fusion and then power up the fusion? To be honest, it doesn't really make a difference how you actually do this. The main focus though is that you power up Necrozma and you don't power up Lunala. So I think for many players, I think fusing them together first is what makes the most sense, and I think that way they avoid the confusion of accidentally powering up like Lunala or Solgaleo and then like wondering why that didn't actually get factored in terms of the Necrozma, because it's actually just all based on Necrozma. If I fuse after GoFest, will I still get the legacy movesets? So yes, the fusion movesets are based on just the fusion by itself, so they're not technically legacy movesets because you're going to get them and then you're also going to get them removed if you actually fuse and then unfuse your Necrozma together. So yeah, basically once you fuse your Necrozma together with Lunala, you're going to get Moongeist Beam on Dawn Wings, and then if you fuse your Necrozma together with Solgaleo, you're going to get Sunsteel Strike, and then if you unfuse them, you're also going to lose those movesets as well. So will they stay fused together until you unfuse them, unlike the Mega effect, right? So yeah, these are not Mega Pokemon, even though for some reason people are claiming that they are kind of like Mega Pokemon. I would not compare these to Mega Pokemon, they are vastly different, like they are fusion Pokemon, in which case if we got something like Ultra Necrozma in the future, that would probably work something like a Mega Pokemon. Once you fuse them together, they are stuck like that until you decide to unfuse them. So when are Solgaleo and Lunala coming back into raids? So first of all, Solgaleo and Lunala have never been available in raid battles. The only way to get them was from Cosmog evolving, and the only way to get Cosmog previously was from special research quests. The only way that people have gotten Solgaleo and Lunala is from the special research quest from this year's Pokemon GO Fest, whether that was in person or from the global. I definitely understand the reason behind this too, because in terms of overall power potential, like Duskmane and Dawn Wings are crazy OP, and I'm pretty sure Niantic does not want players having like teams of 6 of these Pokemon. Now, is it possible to get more Cosmog for making ult accounts and then trading over those Cosmog or, you know, Lunala or Solgaleo to your main account? Yeah, that's 100% possible, and that's how some people have like teams of 6 of these Pokemon right now. There was actually a Japanese player that I saw the other day on Twitter who had 6 Duskmane and 6 Dawn Wings, all 100% IV. I don't even know how something like that is possible to get that many hundos over this weekend, but I have to imagine they were just raiding constantly. I don't know how often we're going to get Cosmog special research available in Pokemon Go. I kind of feel like after this Pokemon Go Fest, we're essentially done with Ultra Beasts for the most part, outside of like Stakataka and Blacephalon getting their shiny forms. And eventually once we get the Go Tour for Alola, which would be Gen 7, so we're gonna get Gen 5 next year, 2025, which means 2027, around February, would be when we get the Alola Tour. So yeah, that's quite a whiles away. I don't think it's going to be that long before we get another chance to get Cosmog again, but I really have no idea. How do we get more energy after this event is complete? Can we walk it like a Mega Pokemon to get more energy? So no, unfortunately you can't, and it really sucks, and I've gone over this question already in this video, but man, I feel like I just need to go over this again because it really is just such a pain in the butt that we can't actually walk these Ultra Beast Pokemon. I'm pretty sure the main reason that we can't actually walk Duskmane or Dawn Wings is because they aren't actually Mega Pokemon, like they're fusion Pokemon, so it's technically just Necrozma. Although in terms of why you can't get more energy, like I feel like it is kind of a missed opportunity. I hope that Niantic does change this in the future, because for anybody who is limited on the amount of energy that they have, I mean, there's no other way to get this, and I think for players who weren't able to actually get 10 to 12 raids done during this weekend for that respective energy, like they're kind of out of luck here. My research path, I chose a Solgaleo and I got a 15, 14, 14. My Cosmog from research is a 14, 15, 14. I have 1 shiny Necrozma with mediocre IVs and no 100% IV Necrozmas, over 2,000 energy of each, and 345 Cosmog candy, 410 Necrozma candy, and 225 extra large Necrozma candy. Not sure what I should do. So first of all, you need to focus on getting a good IV Necrozma. That should be the #1 thing you do focus on. Now in terms of your Solgaleo, I would not actually fuse that one together. You ended up getting a really good IV spread, so congrats on that. Keep that as a Solgaleo by itself. Now for the Cosmog that you got from research, I would actually fuse that one together because you already have a good Solgaleo, so like Lunala isn't really that good for anything by itself. So if you wanted to evolve that one to Lunala and then fuse it together with a good IV Necrozma, that would be the move. It seems like you spent a lot of time grinding this one out, so again, like focus on getting a good IV Necrozma from lucky trades or just from mirror trades, and then by the time you've actually exhausted all of your Necrozma that you got from these raid battles this past weekend, only then can you decide to actually fuse one together with Solgaleo or Lunala, depending on what you want to choose. And to be honest, I'm not even sure if you ended up getting like a 96% IV with 15 attack or like a 98% IV and just didn't mention it, because you only mentioned that you got 1 shiny Necrozma with mediocre IVs and no 100% IV Necrozma. So to some players, like if they don't get the hundo, they just feel like everything else is trash when that's not technically true. I feel like if you got anything that's like 96% IV or higher with like 15 attack, like that is worthy of the fusion. At least that's what I did, like, and just in past experience, like most of the Pokemon that I do power up for raid battles, like it's a no-brainer for a 96% IV, 15 attack. Other players might just be dead set on the hundo, but you're gonna spend a lot of time and energy trying to get that hundo, whereas like a 96% IV pretty much gets the same job done. How long does the fusion last? So the fusion actually lasts forever. Like once you fuse them together, they're stuck like that until you decide to unfuse them, which once again, I do not recommend unfusing them because you're going to have to spend 1000 energy again, and for most players, they probably don't even have that available. I have a Hundo Necrozma, and my only Lunala is like 86% IV. So first of all, there's no such thing as like an 86% IV, it's either like 84% or 87%, it's one of those two. Anyways though, reading on, if I fuse them together, will it be a Hundo or not? I don't want to waste a 100 Necrozma, so yes. Everything is going to be based on Necrozma, so if you fuse together that Hundo, you're going to have a Hundo Dawnwings. If I don't care about the Master League PvP at all, which one should I go for? Duskmane is better against Rock, Fairy, and Ice types, as well as being much better comparatively to the field than Dawnwings, which is basically tied with Mega Gengar and is only good against 2 typings. Overall, which one would you go for? PvP did not matter at all. So first of all, Dawnwings is like 4 points higher on the ER scale compared to Mega Gengar, so I would not actually say it's more or less on the same level. Like, Dawnwings is objectively better than Mega Gengar. Although with that being said, you can totally run both of them at the same time, so it's not like you have to pick between the two, like it's a combination. Either way though, when it comes down to it, like, you pretty much just have to ask yourself, are you going to use a steel type attacker more or a ghost type attacker more? In my opinion, I feel like I'm going to use a ghost type attacker more because it does hit a lot of Pokemon in game, but at the end of the day, like, it's totally up to you. Like, it doesn't really matter, like, they're both going to be extremely meta relevant, it's just one is going to be the top ghost type attacker and one is going to be the top steel type attacker. Now if I'm being honest here, I barely go through and use my Metagross teams for raid battles, which is basically my top steel type team, but when it comes down to using my ghost type attackers, there have been so many more situations where those have been relevant. So if I had to pick between the two for raid battles only, then I would definitely go with Dawnwings. Should I power up Lunala before fusing it together with Necrozma, or will it not change its CP level? So yeah, we've talked about this already, but basically when it comes down to it, you know, everything is based on Necrozma, right? So the only thing that goes to Necrozma from Lunala is just going to be its form. The IVs, the base stats, how much it's been powered up, none of that actually matters. The only thing that matters is what's on Necrozma. What happens if I get a 2-star Cosmog and I evolve it to Solgaleo and then I fuse it together with a 98% IV Necrozma? Will the stats change or what would they look like? I didn't get any Hundos or good shinies, unfortunately. So once again, everything is going to be based on Necrozma. I feel like I'm repeating myself so many times in this video, but hopefully this is kind of clarifying this for most of you guys. So when it comes down to it, if you fuse together your Solgaleo with that 98% IV Necrozma, which again is really, really solid, I'm actually pretty jealous you ended up getting one that good. When you ultimately do fuse it together though, that is going to turn into a 98% IV Duskmane. Does the refusing cost the same 1000 energy? I'm wondering if it's worth re/defusing my Necrozma when I need a better counter for raid battles. So yeah, unfortunately, when you do unfuse your Necrozma, it is going to make you re-spend that 1000 energy once again. I hate the way this is currently set up, and I do hope that Niantic does change it in the future, but as of right now, once you fuse together either the Necrozma with Solgaleo or Lunala, do not unfuse that Pokemon. I went ahead and tested this for science, and I can tell you right now that you're going to have to spend that 1000 energy once again. So yeah, I basically spent 2000 energy for my Dawnwings, and had I not been a content creator, I don't think it would have been worth it, but since I am a content creator, I can at least tell you guys and hopefully help you not make the same mistake. I have 1030 Solgaleo fusion energy and about 800 Lunala fusion energy. I also have 100% IV Necrozma and I want to use it for Lunala. The event is over and I still need 200 more energy though. Can I still get more after the event? So unfortunately, I'm really sad to say this, but you cannot get more energy right now. There is no current way outside of the raid battles or if you had the special research available to get more energy. And once again, like, I think this was a huge missed opportunity on Niantic's part, and I do hope they kind of rework the system in the future, because as of right now, I guarantee you are not the only player who was shy of getting 1000 energy on either Solgaleo or Lunala. It took on average 10 to 12 raids to actually get enough energy. Even if you use the codes, that would still be between like 8 to 10 raids, and that's kind of a lot for some players. Even though it is like a big 8-hour day, like not everybody can go out and play for the entire time over the weekend, and just in general, like these Pokemon were crazy expensive to get. To simply answer your question though, no, there's no way to actually get more energy, so you can either pick Solgaleo for your Hundo, or you can just wait until we eventually get another opportunity in the future. I do hope that there is one, but as of right now, it doesn't look like you're going to be able to fuse your Lunala together with Necrozma to get the Hundo Dawnwing. So if I have a max IV and CP Necrozma and an average stat Solgaleo/Lunala, will the CP/IV matter? Asking because I'm debating about boosting a Lunala/lucky trading a Lunala and then fusing together a Lunala with a max CP and 98% IV non-shiny or 94% IV shiny Necrozma. Okay, so first of all, there's no such thing as a 94% IV, it's either 93% IV or 96% IV, it's one of the two. Now to answer your main question, no, it doesn't actually matter in terms of Lunala's IVs or CP or anything like that. Everything is 100% based on Necrozma, so if you decide to actually fuse them together, it's not going to take anything from Lunala except for its form. With that being said, hopefully that answered all of your questions regarding the Necrozma fusions. As always, if you guys have any additional questions, let me know in the comment section down below. But with that being said, if you still want to check out some more content, watch these two videos right here, and before you go, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you all real soon in the next one.